I'm happy to now welcome Khushi Kabir from Dhaka into the discussion. Khushi is, as you all know, well-known human rights activist and environmentalist, and she's one of the advisors at Sapan. Tell us, Khushi, isn't it interesting that folk tales from one region of South Asia make it to all the other regions and they become part of our shared cultural heritage?
Yeah, it's very interesting that the folk tales celebrate love.
Yeah.
Very often it's not the happily living happily ever after kind of thing. It ends in death because somehow lovers are separated, and then stories are given almost like the Romeo Juliet kind of stories. There are parallels of thinking the other one has died and then the partner then commits suicide too. So those are celebrated throughout, and there are many different angles and different stories that come in. But what's interesting that even like in the Bengali folklore, and if you look at the oldest poet we have in Bengali poet Alaul, and he in the 15th century would write about love stories, not just from the region itself, but across the region too. So, you had your own love stories, and really it used to be in plays, it used to be in different forms. So you really, you celebrate the love, whether it ends in a tragedy or not. But on the other hand, in your life, in your lifetime, culture, the society frowns on love. The moment they find that their child has chosen somebody and wants to marry that person, immediately forced into marriage with somebody else. That continues. There's a dichotomy of what the reality is. And of course, class, caste, religion, everything else comes into play, that anything that's different and outside of what is considered the accepted norm is frowned upon. And there are many ways of trying to ensure that this relationship does not last and this relationship does not go on. I was interested to hear about the safe home for LGBTQI, and I just wrote a little question asking if this is permanent, if it's a stopgap solution or not. One has to think of much longer term. I mean, all these safe homes are all for a short while. I think it's good that we're having this discussion, and we are challenging that there needs to be changes. And I think we need to start challenging and changing what norms are, and not just thinking of short term and just legal changes, because legal changes by itself don't work. It's just that how do we get the society to change? So what I did was I asked a friend of mine, because literally at the last minute, just last night, who I thought if she shared her sister's story with us, would say that how it is possible that if you have the spirit, if you know what you want, and if you're, I guess it's also to do with, I wouldn't say always with class. Very often the class is if you're very poor, or if you're from a very exploited or very discriminated background, then the pressures on you is much stronger, because the rest of the society will pounce on you. But sometimes we have seen that if there is agency, if there is organized support systems, one can overcome that. So I do think, as with everywhere else, that organization and strength is really important. I have with me here Natasha Ahmed. Natasha Ahmed is a very good friend of mine. She's a Bangladeshi, and she'll tell her story, but she lives in Kolkata. And I think I'd like her to talk about, in Bangladesh, she was the first one who fought a case to be able to get her son and her spouse no visa required stamp on their passport. Yet Natasha, I think, still needs to get a visa to remain in Kolkata, in India, to stay with her family, with her husband and her son. So this is something I think one should hear about.
Yeah. These are some of the practical aspects of
very practical aspects
of love that we should all hear. And since we are celebrating love, we should also
so I think
hear these successful love stories.
Successful love stories, but what is interesting is the mindset again, as I said. Her sister had an inter whatever culture, inter language, inter culture marriage, and he's prominent too, she's prominent, but Bina Sarwar was looking up his name in Wikipedia, and it's totally falsified, and he's made into a Bengali when he's not. He's been given different names, and his home district is given something that is totally wrong, because I think Natasha from Punjab, maybe Natasha can talk about
I think Natasha can share that very interesting cross-border interfaith family story. Yeah, Natasha, please go ahead.
So go ahead, Natasha.